2016 is an election year here in America, and while news networks across the country are abuzz with debate coverage, Netflix is abuzz with the 4th season of its own political drama, House of Cards. In the modern telescape of morally ambiguous shades of gray anti-heroes, President Francis Underwood is pure red, white, and blue evil, and the road to the White House is paved with a lot of fucked up moments. Greetings, my fellow Americans, and for this video, honorary Americans. I'm Alyssa with Cinematica, and we're counting down the 9 House of Cards moments that made us go, what the fuck? Just a warning though, season 4 spoilers lie ahead, so if you haven't watched all of it yet, you might want to turn around and watch this video after you're all caught up. Alright, let's get started. Number 9. Eating out for Father's Day. This one's throwing it all the way back to season 1 when Frank was still the dog-strangling whip, Zoe wasn't roadkill, and the two were entwined in a romantic affair that was anything but romantic. One night after Frank comments that he's old enough to be Zoe's dad, he implores her to give her actual dad a phone call for Father's Day. As she catches up with her pop, Frank goes down on her. The Freudian dichotomy occurring in the scene alone is full of what the fuckery, without Zoe saying, "I'm going to try to come." You know, like come home to see her dad? Ugh. This was one of the first standout crazy moments of the show that really gave us a taste of what we'd be in for moving forward. Since then, House of Cards has become a showcase of disturbing sexual encounters. Some of them may even be on this list, so stay tuned for that, and you're welcome. Number 8. The spit take. Oftentimes, House of Cards is filled with nuanced, subtle symbolism, and sometimes Frank spits on a statue of Jesus Christ. Caught up in the heat of presidential personal problems, Underwood retreats to the church for guidance from up high. However, he's unsatisfied learning the gospel truth, which is that he isn't meant for absolute power. Furiously, he hawks one up on the statue of the Messiah, causing religious and non-religious viewers alike to cringe spastically. Then, to take it one step further, Frank goes to clean up his mess and ends up breaking the statue. There's symbolism, and then there's forthright blasphemy. "Well, I've got God's ear now," he says. "You can't pun your way out of this one, Francis." And actually, while we're on the topic of Frank spraying his body fluids onto things, honorable mention to that time in season 3 when he urinated on his dad's grave. Number 7. Close reading the Riot Act. Feminist punk band Pussy Riot season 3 cameos are so rooted in real life that if you don't understand the social context of them, their whole appearance may feel like one big what the fuck moment. Who are these women? Why do they hate Petrov so much? Don't worry, we'll provide the history lesson. Back in 2012, Pussy Riot, a real Russian band, were arrested for protesting and criticizing Putin's anti-gay agenda with a punk prayer. They were jailed for nearly 2 years before being released early, and it wasn't long after that they were approached by House of Cards showrunner Beau Willimon. Initially, they were just supposed to be consultants about the Russian prison system, but the writers' room decided to actually insert them into the show, doing basically exactly what they do in real life. Number 6. No more nights at Freddy's. For all its cynicism about government, politicians, human nature, journalism, marriage, I could go on, House of Cards did have one feel-good thing going for it: Freddy's and Frank's unconventional friendship. The career politician whose favorite ribs are cooked up in a small urban barbecue joint, isn't that just a modern-day fairy tale? That's why we were crushed when Frank cuts his ties to Freddy after a pesky incident in which the cook's son threatened a pack of journalists with a gun. That moment may be more heartbreaking than Claire and Frank splitting up. This whole situation was so messed up that even Frank was upset about it, confiding in us, "Do you think I'm a hypocrite? Well, you should. I wouldn't disagree with you. The road to power is paved with hypocrisy and casualties. Never regret." Well, Frank, to quote Freddy, "You're a motherfucker, Mr. President." Number 5. Knock knock. Frank Underwood took the throne of TV's biggest manipulator when he backhandedly usurped the presidency from sitting President Garrett Walker. And that's mistake number 1. Never undermine Underwood. After waging war with Raymond Tusk and dragging Walker through the mud all the way, Vice President Underwood positioned himself in the perfect spot for a promotion. To avoid impeachment, Walker stepped down and Underwood stepped up. Not even a single vote cast. What about democracy, you guys? How could someone cheat the system so badly, itemizing his corrupt agenda into a deck of lies and building up an ascent to power on a foundation of fraudery, almost like a house of no, but what the fuck, guys? Number 4. A third party enters. There are certain things you can count on in life: death, taxes, and that the longer someone is on House of Cards, the more likely we are to learn about their sex life. For a moment, it seemed like maybe, just maybe, Meacham was quiet and one-note enough that he would be free from the sexploits, until he wasn't. It was late one night. Claire and Meacham had been drinking. The shattered remains of a broken glass were strewn about the floor. Meacham cut his hand. Then Frank entered, and he gently took Meacham's hand in his own and bandaged it. From across the room, Claire's gaze gaze met Meacham's eyes, and she approached the two men. And from there it gets too weird to narrate, so let's just say that Meacham put the service back in Secret Service for the Underwoods that night. Number 3, dug her an early grave. After being rocked in the head by Rachel, left behind by the Underwood administration, and relapsing into alcoholism, Doug hit rock bottom. However, with the guidance of his brother and a season-long character arc, he seemed to be back on the fast track to Softy Town. This turned into more of a vacation, however, when he reopened his obsessive hunt for Rachel and tracked her down to her new home. Chloroforming her, he packed her up in a van and dragged her out into the barren wilderness, prepared to tie up the final loose end in Frank's murder cases by, murdering her. Rachel, now living as Cassie Lockhart, tries to appeal to that character-developed compassion that Doug has now, and surprisingly, it seems to work out. Yay, Doug! Until he has an epiphany that compassion is for sissies. Boo, Doug. He bangs a Yui, the scene cuts, and Rachel is dead in the ground, along with our hopes and dreams for Frank's conviction. Number 2, good win gone bad win. Going into season 4, it seems the writers were looking to reclaim their footing, and the assassination attempt on Frank was just the shock to the system they needed. We could have guessed the crooked president would make it out alive, but in the fray, we lost 2 of our most beloved veteran characters, Meacham and Lucas. It's fittingly Shakespearean that Meacham would lose his life protecting Frank's, and that Lucas would lose his trying to destroy him. On the bright side, this seems to put us back on track toward the fall part of Underwood's rise and fall. Number 1, all aboard the murder train. You knew what this was. No matter how many sudden deaths, sexual manipulations, and political escapades come to pass in House of Cards, nothing can ever beat that moment in season 2. After all, at the time, it was a young show peaking in popularity, and we still weren't sure what to expect from it. Frank had just killed Yellowjacket in the previous season, and in terms of murder, that's already a whole lot of murder. Not to mention that Kate Mara was doing all the promotional press that one expects from someone who doesn't get brutally killed by a subway train in the first episode back. The calculated concealment of Zoe Barnes' death made this moment an unforgettable benchmark of House of Cards what the fuckery. That being said, it was nice to see her return as a pixie-cut fever dream this season, and if all it takes to see her again is Frank getting shot, well, that's fun. Thanks for watching the 9 House of Cards moments that made us go, what the fuck? Which one of these crazy moments really struck you like a subway train? Did we miss a what the fuck moment? Let us know in the comments. And remember to like the video and subscribe to Cinematica, where we help you watch smarter.